afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Bubba's EDC. Not very often you see me in the daylight in the car. Here you go. Just old me. Just left Athens. Went and took my sleep mask in for the CPAP and got fitted for something that hopefully will work better. So, very thankful for that. I was just watching Doc's video. I don't know if he posted it today or yesterday, where he was just sitting drinking coffee. And it got me to thinking, because he was talking about his history and life and all that. And when I first started the channel, I was going to do that. Kind of give a history of myself. And just kind of tell you my background, whatever. And I've told bits and pieces here or there. But I've never, I guess I've never went deep. I guess it's not really deep, but so I thought I would do that. I got, almost an hour till I get to the house, getting back. So I thought I would do that. Maybe you'll be interested. We shall see. Well, I grew up most of my life before I became an adult. I grew up in Georgia, obviously, Covington. It's not where I was born, but once I was about 4, a little after 4, we moved to Covington, and so that's where I grew up. Grew up a pastor's kid. My dad was a pastor for New Testament Apostolic Church from 1969 to 2001. So about 31 and a half years he was a pastor. He preached much longer than that. I believe he first started preaching at 14 or 15. I may be wrong, but I think that's right. Because I remember him saying how young he was the first funeral he had ever done, there's a word I'm looking for there, but I can't think of it. The first funeral he was in charge of, basically. And I believe it was like a baby. But anywho, my dad, good man. Just a real good man, solid. My dad's 84 now. God's given him a good long life for the most part. He's in good health. The man has given and given and given to people for as long as I can remember. My dad gave and gave and gave. In the 90s, that's what I remember the most, because that's when I was a kid. Cell phones wasn't as big, and so the church had a phone, a landline. For those of you young people, that's a phone plugged into the wall. And he, people would leave voicemails, messages, on the tape. It was cassette tape back then. That they needed money, to pay a bill, to do groceries, whatever. I'm not talking people who came to church. I'm just talking people legitimately needing help sometimes, or other times people just wanting a handout. Because let's be real, that's what it was a lot of the time. And Dad didn't ask a lot of questions. Dad just gave. Dad believed in the biblical law of sowing and reaping. I don't know, because I've never asked him. I don't know if he looked at it from the reaping side. Honestly, I think he was just a giver. He was a doer. He was a giver. If somebody needed help with something, if he could do it, he'd go do it. If that meant climbing on a roof and helping, yard work. Dad did all kind of stuff. Dad, he grew up, he was one of 4 boys. And they, very meager coming up. He talked about, literally drinking water, creek water, out of a gourd dipper when him and Pop lived in a trailer by a creek, a little stream. So I mean, very, very meager. So I don't know if maybe that contributed to him giving, but he would give. I've heard from other family members how he would give. So anyways, good man. And he married my mom. Now mom was 27 when they got married. Dad had been married before, but she was unfaithful, and I've never met her. Not going to say nothing bad, but obviously she did the wrong. Dad was a veteran, Army veteran, also a barber. He cut hair. I never had a haircut from anybody outside of my dad or my Uncle Bill, who Dad's older brother was also a barber. Those are the only two people ever cut my hair my whole childhood. Why go pay for one if you can do it, Dad actually would cut the hair of a lot of the brothers in the church. They would just show up at the house. And they, some of them would kind of hem and haw around. Like, I remember one brother, God rest his soul, he would kind of hem and haw, and then, he was wanting a haircut, But yeah, Dad cut Grandpa's hair, which was his father-in-law, cut Grandpa's hair a lot. I think he cut my current pastor, my uncle. I say my current pastor, my pastor, my Uncle Daniel. I believe he cut his hair some too. Might have cut Uncle John and Uncle Randy's hair. I don't know. But anyways, so I don't think Mama started playing the organ until after they got married. I don't think. I can't swear to that. I know Mama started on the accordion. I know a lot of people hate the accordion. But that's how she got started in music. And then her and her sister Shelly, they would sing together. And other women in the church, they would sing together. Come from a musical family. I really come from a musical family. I can't play nothing. I mean, I can beat on the tambourine a little bit, but not like my dad. My dad, you think he's a black man. My dad can whoop on a tambourine. Perfect timing, perfect rhythm, never get out of beat, and he can throw in a lot of extras and fills. Old school Pentecostal. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. So my parents, they had 2 miscarriages before me. They were up in age, I say up in age. Mom was 30 by the time she had me. Dad was 41. Is that right? Yeah, Dad was 41. So they were a little older, not too old, obviously. But 2 miscarriages before me, so I'm the miracle baby. Hallelujah. And then after me, they had my brother, David. But we had a good childhood. And my mom passed when I was 9. My brother was 5. Breast cancer. Her death certificate says pneumonia, but it was because of breast cancer. There's I'm not going to get into the whole story because it's just sad. But her and both of her sisters, all 3 passed within 4 years from breast cancer. So yeah, I certainly hate cancer. That's for sure. That is for sure. So my dad, he went along. That was the love of his life, so that was certainly hard for him. I didn't process it for a long time because I was 9. My brother did. I don't know if my brother has processed it yet. Honestly, my brother's 38. I don't know if he's processed it yet. But it was many years later in my 20s when my wife and I were talking one night, and she got it out of me, and I finally grieved, and I grieved hard. You know, like I said, it was 15 plus years later. 13, 14 years later, something like that, I forget. It was like 07, 08, somewhere in there. Excuse me. But, yeah, Dad had the church for all those years, and eventually, in 97, the church was finally able to build their own building. They had property for years, but the community around where they were going to build the church, the community sued my dad and the church. They didn't want a church there. Isn't that crazy? Sue a church from building a church building because it's not the dynamic they want in their area. You know, there was a lake across the street, and there was a meat processing place, a sausage company, and the people came there and fished and drank and everything. So I guess they were worried they would lose alcohol sales or something. I don't know. But ironically, you know, the church, they finally gave that up like 96, I guess. And today, it's been there probably 10 plus years now. Today, on that property, or the next lot over, is now a huge church. Isn't that funny? So right next to where the church would have been built is now a church. People are funny. So we're still in that same building all these years later. The pastor has changed. Dad had resigned back in 01. My uncle, who's my pastor, had already started his own church in Monroe. And there had been some things that had happened, and people had left Dad's church and were going there. And the two churches came back together under my uncle in 2001. In the same building. So it's a little bittersweet that the building is for sale now. But God knows what He's doing. All things happen for a reason. Excuse me. And then in 99, my dad got remarried. So Mom had been gone like 6 years and 6 years, 5 months, so almost 6.5 years. She had been gone, and he married a woman, and they're still married. So they've been married now 25 years. Yeah, 25 years now. They live in Arizona. They moved there in 01. My brother was still living at home, so he moved with them in 01, and then he moved here in 2014. But yeah, that's kind of my my backstory, my history. Well, when Dad and her got married in 99, and then we were going to a Christian school, and Dad decided to move us he had his reasons to put us in a public school. Well, I got there in January of my junior year, and come to find out they were not going to accept any of the credits from that Christian school. So you have to have so many credits to graduate. So I was a junior with 0 credits. So the counselor, bless her heart, she was doing her best to figure out ways for me to do things, you know. So like I had to take summer school, even though I didn't fail anything. I had to take Algebra 2 in summer school between my junior and senior year. And then I think there might have been like a placement test or something she was able to do for one of the classes to get me a credit. I truly don't remember. Well, somewhere in there, I had started talking to a recruiter, an Air Force recruiter. Things were tumultuous at home, to say the least. My dad's wife and I did not jihad well together. And over the years, you know, it's been ups and downs. We've had good moments. And I have truly done what I could to bridge the gap, and I've made everything right that I knew to make right. And even I said, if there's anything else I have that you're upset with me about, that you think I did, forgive me. I apologize. I don't want no trouble. And I did that not for her, for me. I did it for me, because I don't want any anger or bitterness in my heart, because you ain't gonna get in heaven with anger and bitterness. So I've done what I can do. It's in God's hands now. Whether or not it'll ever get any better, I don't know. But I got no bad feelings, towards her or anything. There's just no relationship there at all, zero. And because of that, my dad and I, our relationship is not great. It's not bad, but it's just maybe a phone call a couple times a year, a text message every few months. Again, I've tried to bridge that too and make that better, but he's on her side, that's tough, when we're his blood. And I think deep down in his heart, he knows that it's all petty and it's all small, and people should be beyond that. But it is what it is. So like I said, no anger or bitterness, no hatred. But I'm just not going to dwell on things I can't control. Like, I'm not going to sit and focus every day on winning the lottery when, number one, I don't play the lottery. I work too hard for my money to gamble it away. And number two, thinking about the lottery, I ain't going to put it in my account. It's kind of the same thing on a much larger scale. Anyway, so I was talking to a recruiter. That was my segue. And not the kind you ride. I ain't getting on one of them things. This old boy will fall down and get hurt. I was talking to a recruiter, and so I was on the delayed enlistment program. So you can start that like in your junior year, where you start learning things about the military. You can go do recruitment events with the recruiter. You sign a letter of intent, like high schoolers do for college sports. You essentially sign like a letter of intent that you're going to go once you graduate. Well, I wasn't going to graduate anytime soon because Philadelphia Christian School apparently was not accredited in the state of Georgia. They issued college preparatory diplomas, and colleges accepted them as college prep diplomas, but for whatever reason, Eastside High School would not. Don't ask, I don't get it. So I finished my junior year, did summer school for Algebra 2, was working at somewhere right in there. I started working at Walmart at my first job, and senior year started like late August, early September, somewhere in there. I don't remember, 20 plus years ago. And we talked it over with, my dad, his wife, and my recruiter, and we agreed that I would drop out and go get my GED, which back then I got it through DeKalb Technical College, which is now done. I believe they're part of Georgia Perimeter College, or I forget, Georgia something college. So I got my GED. Well, being on the delayed enlistment program with a GED, you wait longer, at least back then in 01, you wait longer than when you have a diploma. I don't get it. Sergeant Thornton, she might have told me back then. I don't remember. Well, so I'm working. I'm just working. I was losing weight. I had to lose 100 pounds to get to where I needed to be for my height. Did that. I was doing recruitment things with her, and she had just become a tech sergeant, which was an E6. E5 when I met her, and then she became an E6. Sergeant Carla Thornton, she was a sweetheart, love her to death. Last I heard, she was a chief master sergeant, so she was an E9 in Alabama. I don't know if she's since retired or not, but if any of you know her, good lady. So I was doing recruitment stuff with her and the senior airman who came in to work with her. I don't remember his name. I didn't care for him too much, and he was just a lot of mouth. Well, she was really trying to help me. Like, she truly cared. I mean, truly, she truly cared about me. And she found a school in Florida who would accept all of my credits from Philadelphia Christian School. And when they look over my transcript, they determined I needed 2 classes. One was a math class and one was an English class. And then I could graduate and they'd give me a diploma. So they sent me the work through the mail. I sat at our dining room table because my dad's wife, she forced me. She wanted me to get it done like lickety-split. You know, I don't think I really realized it at the time. I think but looking back, I think that she thought the quicker he gets it done, the quicker he's out of the house. I may be wrong. I'm not accusing, but looking back, that's what it seems like. Well, I sat there, and in 2 days, I did 2 whole courses and sent them in, and I got my diploma, I think, like, man, what's the date on my diploma? End of February, early March. And I was at basic training March 26th. So it was quick. The day I was flying out, I think, was the 25th. I have to go back and look at a calendar, but either March 25th or 26th, 01, I was flying out of Atlanta going to San Antonio. And my dad's mom, Meemaw, got put in the hospital that day. And so I didn't get to see her before I left. And then week 4, I think it was week 3 or week 4 of basic training, Meemaw passed. So I never got to say goodbye to Meemaw. She never got to see me in uniform. That was a hard one, losing Meemaw. I loved Meemaw to death. Meemaw lived in Atlanta, in a bad area of Atlanta, but she had lived there for forever. Uncle Lee and his wife Judy lived in the front of the house. Meemaw lived in the back. She raised parakeets, which I hated. But she had chickens in the backyard, so, you know, we'd go play with the chickens. We'd go, you know, pull the eggs. And Meemaw, we'd sit and watch Gaither homecoming music videos with her. She loved Gaither stuff. She was an excellent cook. She would, you know, fry catfish and hush puppies and different things. And we didn't get to see her as often as we should have. I don't know why we didn't see her more. It was just 45 minutes away in Atlanta, so I don't know why we didn't see her more. I mean, Dad was busy as a pastor, obviously. You know, there's no denying that. So maybe that was part of it. But man, Meemaw passing was so hard. I'll tell you how I found out. It's crazy. You know, sometimes you can just sense something. And I'm not one who normally senses things. I'm not always quick on the pickup or whatever you call it. You know, sometimes I'm a little slow. And that's just the way it is. But this time, I was quick. But we were standing in formation to go to dinner, chow hall, what they called it. And Master Sergeant Staten came out. He was the section supervisor, so our sergeant was Sergeant Watley, and so Staten was her superior. He was a scary man. His nickname around the place was Master Sergeant Satan. You know, there were all kind of rumors about him doing mistreatment of trainees, and different congressional inquiries into his training methods, which realistically, it had to all be lies, because there's no way he would have still been there. But anyways, I was in formation, and he came out and he said, I forget if he just said Hembry or trainee Hembry, because you didn't become an airman until you graduated Warrior Week in week 5. Back then, basic was 6 weeks. I think it's more now. And as soon as he said Hembry, I knew Meemaw had passed. Can't explain it, but I knew. I just knew she was gone. And so, stepped out of formation, marched up to him, and stood at attention, presented myself, and he said, follow me. And so I followed him to his office. Well, I was a nervous wreck, because I had that thought about Meemaw in my head, and I was scared to death of him. So when you get to an office door in basic, you're supposed to stand at attention, and present yourself a certain way, make an announcement a certain way. And I forgot what to do, and I messed up bad. And he's like, do you not know what to do? And he was kind of yelling, and I'm like, sir, I'm scared. Or nervous. I forget if I said scared or nervous, but it was something like that. He said, come in. And so I went and stood in front of his desk, and he told me at ease. So I went at ease, which I'm pretty sure was probably parade rest. It wasn't at ease. And he said, we got a notification from the American Red Cross. And he's like, do you know Lucille Jones? And it took me a minute, because never called Meemaw that. So, because her and Pop had divorced years and years back in the 70s or 80s, and she had married, I forget, I don't know if I ever met him either. Maybe his name was Willie. But she married Mr. Jones, and so her mailbox always said Jones on it, but it just never clicked. As a kid, you just don't think about it. So it took me a second, and I'm staring at him like a moron, and then I clicked. I was like, oh, yes, sir, that's Meemaw. That's my dad's mom. He's like, okay, well, I'm sorry to tell you that she passed. He might have told me if she had passed that day or the day before. I don't remember that, but I instantly, trying to man up as an 18-year-old kid. I'm 18 in 2 months, and trying to man up and not sob like a baby in front of this scary man. And I'm doing everything I can to hold it in, and he sees that, and he said, I'm gonna give you some time. And he got up, walked out of the room, and closed the door, and I lost it. I sat on, he had a little 2-person couch right there in front of his desk, and I just lost it. I don't know how long I was in there sobbing like a baby. I truly don't know. But he eventually came back in. I was trying to get myself together, red face, snotty, breathing hard, the whole 9 yards. And I'm sure he gave me some kind of a kind word or something. I don't remember. But then he said, he's like, you understand that, you can't leave to go to her funeral because she's not immediate family. So basically, mom, dad, which my mom had already passed, but if it had been my dad or my brother, well, I guess even my dad's wife at the time, her, I guess, would have been a reason for him to let you go. And I manned up, and I said, yes, sir. I was like, she would want me to finish this, because all of her boys were military, so dad was Army, Uncle Bill went into the Marines, but he blew his knee out very early on, and they medically discharged him for that. Uncle Lee was Coast Guard, and Uncle Ronnie was Army. Uncle Ronnie, 2 tours in Vietnam, and then came back and worked nearly 20 years as a law enforcement in Clayton County. Uncle Ronnie, boy, he gave this country, let me tell you. So I was like, yes, sir. I was like, she would want me to finish this. I feel like he nodded his head or said something nice. I don't remember. And he told me, he thought, well, you need, report back to your flight. Go eat dinner. I was like, I said, I'm not hungry, sir. He's like, go eat dinner. Yes, sir. So went in there. My whole flight was gone by that point. Because you eat quick in basic. In case you don't know, I mean, I think our first meal was less than 5 minutes. I mean, you're just wolfing down food. So I ate a little bit because I had to. Because they watch you. If you get a plate of food and you don't eat, you're going to get yelled at least back then. So I ate, and then I went upstairs, and I went straight to the bathroom. And so the shower, we called it a horseshoe because there were like 3 or 4 shower heads on this side, 3 or 4 on this side. And so the way they did showers is like, basically you all get in the line and you get a few seconds under each shower head. You get wet, you soap up, you soap, you start rinsing, you just kind of work around. But outside of that was a room with a couple benches and hooks where you could hang towels and stuff. And I sat in there and I lost it. I mean, I was sobbing like crazy. And there's a couple of guys who came, there were several that came in there, but 2 in particular stood out. And to this day, I never can thank them enough. I haven't seen them since basic, but Kevin Zieznitz and Larry Foster both were right there with me. Just super, super nice. They were nice to everybody the whole time we were there. They were just good, solid dudes. Jer Holder was another one, good, solid dude. I really like Jer. He became our flight captain at one point, flight leader, whatever they called it. I don't remember. But yeah, they and Kevin and Larry ended up. I failed my first PT test, my main one, where you have to run 2 miles in under 18 minutes, and I did it 18 minutes and 10 seconds. I vividly remember. And so they give you a week, and then you got to do it again. And they said you can pick 2 people to run with you to help motivate you. And so I asked Kevin and Larry if they would, and they both did. They ran with me the whole. They didn't have to. The rest of the flight, sitting on the sideline watching you run. And they ran with me. God bless both of them. Man, good dudes. And then graduation day there, you gotta, if y'all have seen videos on the internet, you can't leave your formation after you graduate until somebody, your family member or whatever, comes and taps you out. Or after a certain amount of time, then they'll release everybody. Well, I started crying because my family wasn't there. It was emotional for me, and I think a lot of it was a financial thing. I do. So I didn't hate on them for that, but it hurt. And so I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, crying, and I feel somebody touch me, and this sweet little lady says, "Are you Brian?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I'm Larry's mama, and we'd love you to come hang out with us today." Oh, y'all, I just hugged her like she was my own mom. Larry had told her, so she came and tapped me on the shoulder. So the rest of the day, you can go do whatever. You can actually leave base, with your family or whatever. And so I rode with them. We had too many people in the car, but they let us through the gate, even though there were people on laps. We went and did the San Antonio River Walk. We did a little boat up and down the river walk, and I think we ate at Hard Rock Cafe or something like that. But they were good people. They were the first people I'd ever met. That were Mormon, and I can't say nothing bad about any of the Mormon people I've ever met. They've all all been just solid, good people. You know, we don't have to agree on things doctrinally and things in the Bible, whatever. That don't matter to me. Just good, solid people. So, I know the odds of Larry or Kevin ever seeing this. But man, if you guys ever see this from Flight 366, graduated May 9th, 2001, from Lackland Air Force Base under Staff Sergeant Janet Watley. I love you. Thank you very much. God bless you. Y'all certainly made it easier for this old boy to make it through that time. Y'all certainly did. I had looked for Larry and Kevin both along the way on Facebook and never was able to find them. I did find quite a few of the guys from our flight, and we had created a group on Facebook 6, 8, 10 years ago, whatever it was, and we chatted for a little bit, but people get busy in lives and it just kind of fell off. But them two guys in particular, they made an impact on me. They really did. So I certainly hope they are doing well. I don't have a clue, but I hope they are doing well. It's like I say, and I didn't come up with it. I got it from that other knife channel, Zach Stuff, I think is what it is, or Zach something. But the hashtag DSKFS, do something kind for someone. And it's true. You don't know how much it'll impact somebody's life. Like them two guys, Kevin and Larry. If you'd have asked them, will this guy remember y'all 24 years later? They probably would have said no. If you'd have asked me back then, would I remember something like that 24 years later? I'd have probably said no. But it truly made an impact on me. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I'll forever be grateful because they showed kindness to a blubbering, crying 18-year-old kid. Because both of them were older than me. They were both in their 20s already. I think Larry was already married with kids when he joined. And Kevin, he certainly looked older. I'm pretty sure he was older. He was a workout guy, you can tell. But man, certainly am appreciative of them guys for that. And then the rest, more history. But I'm not going to get into all that. But went to my training at Shepherd Air Force Base, and then got stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. And up there is where I met the love of my life, my sweetheart. And we've now been together for 23 years. October 11th was 23 years since our first date. And today is October 16th. So 5 days ago, it was 23 years together. And been married for 22 years. And if the Lord tarries, 22 more, 30, 40 more, whatever he sees fit. But I've certainly been blessed. I know I rambled for quite a while here, so if you made it this far, God bless you. Since I'm in the car, I don't know how this is going to sound. If I get back and it sounds terrible, then I won't even post it and you'll never see it. But I figured this would be easier than me just trying to sit at the house in front of the camera and talk directly to the camera without, something else driving. But thank you all. I certainly appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of your support, all of your kindness. Coming up on a year with the channel. I believe in 2 days. We'll be exactly 1 month away from my first post, my first video. So it's hard to believe. Basically, at 11 months now in 2 days. I created the channel before video. Then I'll talk to you then. I need to do a live at some point. It's been a while since I've done a live. Honestly, just, you know, work has kind of took it out of me, so that's why my content's been getting fewer and far between. But I had to stay awake to drive home, so that's why I figured I could do this. And if I'm talking, maybe that'll help me stay awake as well. So, y'all be good, be careful. Again, remember, do something kind for someone else. It truly goes a mighty long way. I mean, almost a quarter century later, I'm talking about these two guys I was with in basic training and how much they impacted me. Think about that. That's amazing. Y'all be good. God bless you.